Hello and welcome to the Built on Air podcast. Built on Air is a regular podcast where we talk with everyday people and learn about the amazing things they are doing with Airtable. Today's podcast is sponsored by OpenSide, the leading solutions provider for Airtable customers. Check out openside.com to learn more about their products and services that can take your Airtable usage to the next level. Use promo code BuiltOnAir to receive $20 towards any product purchase. On today's episode of Built on Air, we digitally travel overseas to chat with Jonathan Bowen. Jonathan is an Airtable developer and consultant, boasting over 20 years of experience in technology, the past 13 of which have been focused on web apps and e-commerce development. His company, DragonDrop, a creative play on words, get it, drag and drop, helps clients build Airtable bases to manage all sorts of workflows. Jonathan was recently named a community leader in the Airtable Community Forum, which means he has been recognized by the Airtable staff for his outstanding contributions towards helping users get the most out of the product. The first base Jonathan shares with us today is a multi-step onboarding process in which he has combined Airtable, Zapier, and Typeform to create a simple flow of information between the client and the base. The client receives an email with a list of steps to complete, and each step is linked to a Typeform form. Jonathan demonstrates the creative way that he ensures the client's information updates the correct record in Airtable. Next, we dive into a project he recently completed for the Computer Museum of America, where he used the Airtable API to render data from the base onto a web page and export it as a PDF. Jonathan is currently working toward gearing this process more toward the general public and plans to post on the community forum soon with step-by-step instructions. I think now would be a good time for you to share your screen if you'd like.
Yeah, great. Well, I'll start with the step processes. We've just talked about that, and let's see how we go. Great. So this isn't the actual step process, but this is kind of a mock-up that I put together afterwards to kind of demonstrate it. So again, just to kind of go back on this, so we've got Airtable handling the database side of things and the data collection side of things. We've got Typeform, which is providing the user interface for the clients. And we've got Zapier in the middle to kind of connect this all together to push from Typeform to Airtable and in some cases to send an email. So the way this works, as I talked about, was to kind of have what I've called a step zero here, which was to initiate the process. And from there, I think we had sort of 10 different steps in the process. I've just got a couple here. Mm-hmm. But once it's initiated by the service provider, in this case, the clients would get an email and would then answer each of those sets of questions, and there's a one-to-one mapping between a Typeform form and a table within Airtable. Mm-hmm. So rather than have 100 different questions in a single table, we kind of split it up this way. To make the whole kind of process easier, but also to just to make viewing the data easier a little bit as well. So this is going to be a little bit tricky to show, but this might be one that's worth writing up on the forum at some point, just to kind of give a bit more detail. Mm-hmm. So let me just check. Yeah, so I just got an email inbox running here as well, which will come into play in a minute. So the way this would start then is to kick off the Typeform process. And here I'm just going to, these are just kind of modified questions, but, a name and an email. And this is kind of the setup process, if you like. And in this case, that Typeform submits the record to Airtable. And if we go into step one, hopefully that's come in. You can see that there. Mm-hmm. But it also sends an email and again, we can see this in the inbox now. And again, this is a simplified version, but now it's got links to, I don't know if you can quite see that in the bottom left corner, but it's got links to the subsequent Typeform forms. So so the client really, the point of the email is to give the client instructions on what to do, and kind of give them some context and some background into the process. And basically to tell them to follow steps 2, 3, and 4, or whatever steps might be there. What I had to do in Airtable, well, actually, I guess it's really it was a crossover between Typeform and Airtable, was to add a hidden field onto the next Typeform form to capture the record ID. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is when that particular form is filled in, that's step 2 of the process, the client ID would get mapped into here, and then would provide a link back to this record. You can see we've got this Airtable linked field here. So this bit I can't actually demonstrate, but when you submit that form, you're going to end up with a record like this. And this record ID here is a hidden field. It's that same hidden field here on the Typeform URL. So that gets submitted in the background, and then provides the linking mechanism so that we know that this record in this table is related to this record in this table. And obviously you can see the connections made here because I've kind of done it manually. But when the Typeform form gets submitted, you get this linking process happening automatically. And that's obviously something you can't do with Airtable without exposing things like record IDs or unique IDs in some form emails, that kind of thing. And this is often why I go outside to something like Typeform or Jotform to kind of provide a little bit of extra functionality that you can't get from a native Airtable form. So I use Zapier a lot as well. I know I see a lot of people on the forum use Integromat, which I've tried as well, but I've got very familiar with Zapier and just find this a really good addition to Airtable solutions, just as a way of just adding a bit more of a process to it, really, and obviously linking Airtable with Dropbox or Typeform or the 1,000+ other apps that Zapier supports. I find that a really useful tool to have in the kit bag, really.
I could not agree more. I use Zapier for everything.
Yeah. And it's amazing once you start to use it, you find new uses for it, and I just find it works really, really well.
I agree. Yeah, it's addicting automating things. I think it's fun.
Yeah, and actually, I think I think that the combination of Airtable, a really good form solution, and Zapier, you can. I feel like you can pretty much build anything from those 3 things, really. You kind of got almost everything you need there to build, a good, well-functioning solution for a particular problem.
Agreed, absolutely. It's amazing. It does put the power in the hands of the people using it.
Yeah. And again, often see posts on the forum saying, well, why do we have to use Zapier, and why do we need to use this and that? But there's so much complexity to Zapier. I couldn't ever see Airtable producing that, and why would they, when there's a perfectly good solution out there that works well with Airtable. So I think that combination of tools is really, really good.
Absolutely, I agree. Thank you. That was very, very creative way of making sure that those responses stay linked together. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. Do you want to show us your timeline project for the Computers
Yes.
Museum?
Okay, so we talked about the Computing Museum of America, which was the kind of original inspiration for this. So what I did recently, and I am going to put this on the forum at some point in the show and tell category, I think it is, I tried to find a way to make it more generic, but also perhaps easier for non-technical people to pick it up. Mm-hmm. Now, unfortunately, there is a bit of code behind this, and I guess I'm still working on trying to make it easy for someone to just kind of grab it and work with it, even if they're not that familiar with code. So when it goes up on the forum, we'll see how successful I've been with that. But so really, I was following the model that we adopted on the Computing Museum of America, and really it's to get a PDF of the data that's in Airtable. So this could be for a wall hanging like the museum, although I guess that's a little bit unusual. But I was thinking of things like if people wanted a PDF of their product catalog, for example. I've seen that come up a few times on the forum as something that people are interested in. Or just a PDF of the data that's out there. It's not the middle step to this is to make a web page of the data, but it's not really, at least in my mind, something that should be put straight out on the web. So it's not really Airtable to website, and there are some reasons for that. It's really Airtable to an HTML format to then get to PDF. So just to step back, the reason why I wouldn't put this directly out onto the web, Airtable to web. There's lots of ways of doing that, but the way that I've done it, it does expose your app ID and your API key, which you wouldn't really want to do on the public web. I've seen a few times that Airtable themselves have suggested that bases are not really designed to be a content management system for a public website. When we're getting the data from the base, we're using the Airtable API, and I guess their API is just not scaled to a website getting thousands of hits per day. So those are a couple of reasons not to put this straight out onto the web. So what I do here is just run the HTML side of it locally, and from there in my browser I can print it to PDF. So I'm not going to go through this totally, in fact hardly at all, but this is a simplified version of the code that I put together, and this is what I'll put out onto the forum at some point. So yeah, if you're into code, you'll get this. If you're not into code, you won't, and that's fine. But there is a bit of code behind it, and I'm just running this file locally on my laptop to show the web version of this. And so what we've got here, just some data about American presidents on Mount Rushmore, just grabbed from Wikipedia. And that comes out in this sort of format, which on the face of it is fairly bland, but because it's HTML and you can use style sheets with this, it could be in any format you wanted, pretty much, as long as it can be represented on a web page. You can adjust the code file to make whatever layout you want. And when that is, if I just try and print that to PDF, there's the example there that you can see, and you can there's a little bit of coding work to make it a little bit of styling work to make it display properly, but you can print out a nice PDF of that data and have page breaks and sort of images and layouts and that kind of thing. But the way I've tried to make it a little bit more generic is to have the data field paired with a styling field. And again, I'm getting a little bit codey here, but hopefully this is clear. So, for example, the name, I've had it styled with an H2 tag, and the text I've had styled with a paragraph tag, and the dates in Office I've had it tagged with an H6 and so on. And there's a specific way to I've chosen to treat images. So each field that's displayed is mapped with its pair, which shows the styling. So I mean, just to kind of illustrate this, I could make this. So George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, they're currently H2s, but if I were to make that also be a paragraph tag and kind of copy that down to the others, you can see quite easily when that refreshes, this now becomes a paragraph tag instead of an H2. So there's quite a lot of flexibility here, and it probably needs a little bit more work to kind of make it fully flexible. But the idea here was just to give people who are interested a way to extract their base into a web page and subsequently for printing into a PDF, but to give them some level of control over what each of those data elements look like.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that was very clear. I understood all of it. That's. I'm sorry, I'm like a little speechless. I think this is amazing.
Nice you said. Cool. I mean, I think when I put this onto the forum, I'll explain more about the code and which bits you can ignore and which bits you need to have a think about. Hopefully, we can kind of ignore a lot of this and just get people who perhaps aren't into code to focus on what they need to do. I'm sure those people that do code will probably be able to take this and improve it tenfold as well, because I'm not a great coder. I'm a bit of a hacker when it comes to code, but it kind of does the job. So for the coders out there, you can take it to bits and put back a real version.
No, I'm very impressed. That's so cool. And that's definitely it's a piece that I've seen a couple of different things pop up in terms of trying to go from Airtable to PDF, and this it looks like a very straightforward and easy way to wrap your head around.
Yeah, just to show I'm not faking it either. We can, if I just duplicate one of the records, you can kind of see it'll just refresh that. It'll print it out again. It'll duplicate that out again. So once you've kind of got the page set up, and it's just a simple one pager, it's not a site with sort of multiple files and sort of lots of packages and all that kind of stuff. It's just a simple one page HTML file. You get the layout right, and you can just add records to your heart's content, and it'll all just come out in the right way.
Yeah, awesome. That is, I can see that being used for anything, really.
Yep. And it's not, as we know, the page designer does a lot of good stuff and allows you to print out records. I guess really this was just to show another way, really, and just to show something that's maybe a little more flexible. You can kind of dig into this a little bit more, and if you've got HTML and CSS skills, you could completely modify the layout of this that perhaps you can't do on page design.
Exactly. Absolutely. This definitely has a lot more versatility to it. And you mentioned page breaks, and that's a big problem that people are dealing with as well with Page Designer.
Yeah. So the bit I haven't done with this yet, but again, it's an enhancement that I think would be worth doing, is having a linked record. or a link table, and just show those coming in. So I guess the classic example of that would be an invoice where you've got one invoice that has got multiple items on it. So that might be a good one to try and model out in this with two tables in Airtable, and just see if we could get that idea working as well.
Absolutely. Oh, I'm excited to see the post when you write it up.
Yep, that should be coming soon. As soon as I can get it finished, I'll put that up there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. That is very, very cool.
You're welcome. Hope that's interesting to people.
I sure found it very interesting, and I'm sure that most people in the Airtable community will as well.
Yeah. Trying to explain it is interesting. So once it goes up there, if anyone's got any questions, just fire it back against the post, and I'll try and answer them. It's kind of difficult to do it online like this, but because you can't cover all the details. So I'd be happy to answer any questions when it goes up there.
Awesome, absolutely. All right, well, I think that's all I have for you today, but I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us.
Great, thanks for having me. It's fun to show stuff.
Absolutely.